it on my profile.
Yep.
I will check everyone else's.
Awesome.
Yeah, looks good. Looks really good. Amazing.
Jen, give us an intro.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you to Will for joining us. This is the second stream that we've done. The whole purpose of the AMOS streams and just in general is just like to see the minds behind the biggest campaigns that we see on the timeline, because we always see what the end result is and we see what the kind of the TV show, but we never see the script or the script writers, right? So I think we will need to see the Spielberg behind the show, and that's Will. And I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Jin, head of Nuffle marketing, love AI, and it's been a really great journey, like getting to know a lot of the top marketers in the space, and I've got 3 of them with me today. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Reka. I'm the co-founder of Guild XYZ and CMO of that for a couple of years. Last year I've been building an intent protocol, and that was my entry point to being obsessed with infrastructure. Right now I am at a big ZK protocol announcing soon, and I'm currently building testnet campaigns myself, so this is highly interesting, and it counts as work. So thanks, Will, for helping with my own research. Over to you, Emily.
Hey everyone, my name is Emily. I'm the CMO of Hype. We're a crypto native full service go-to-market agency. We've done a lot of testnet campaigns, TGE campaigns the last 3 years, full-time in crypto marketing for 3 years, full-time marketing for 8 years, mainly in e-commerce before crypto. So really excited because we did a really fun stream, I think a few weeks ago with Nillian. And I think these campaign breakdowns are so helpful for marketers to really understand what's happening and how marketers like will do it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you all so much for having me, and what's going on, G Move to all the G Movers, and G Marketing to all the marketers. I'm Will. I'm a human being. I'm also a marketer. I'm the CMO at Movement. And I'm really excited to get into this. I can get into kind of my background a little bit and kind of how I got here if you guys want. But, you know, as it stands right now, I'm at Movement Labs, G Moving every day.
Awesome, man. Yeah, welcome, dude. I think just before we get into that, I want to show everyone just the little thing that we prepared that we'll go through in a sec before we, after you introduce yourself. So we're just looking at, this is Will. Make sure you follow Will, Living with Will, and this is Movement. And I mean, if you haven't heard of Movement, I don't know what you've been doing, right, in the past like month, 2 months. And then today we're going to go through kind of the campaign start to finish and just hear the story about how Will thought about it, kind of trials and tribulations, and go from there. And the final part of all of this is every stream we do, all the kind of data points we get, all the stuff we say, we're going to feed it to like a central AMOS AI. And then for the rest of the space, marketers can ask it, you know, how to do a testnet campaign. It'll say, well, Will said this on this date for this campaign. So it credits everyone, helps everyone. That's the kind of end goal of all of this.
God damn, you're talented. That's awesome.
That's very kind, dude. I just love playing with this stuff. But yeah, dude, I'd love to hear your story, man, and like how you got started.
For sure. So I'll take it back to the beginning, circa 2016. I think 2013 was my first transaction. Somebody owed me like $150 or something like that. And they're like, I could give you these 10 Bitcoin instead. I was like, oh, all right, that sounds good. That was kind of like a, you know, I was just, you know, getting a debt repaid. 2016 comes around. I'm working at Sony. I'm an A&R at the time, so I'm working with artists, and I'm really trying to kind of learn how the label mechanism works. Like I'm a strong believer, and you have to know how the machine works so you can break it and make it better. So I'm at Sony. I'm learning how these deals are structured. There's a whole history of like 360 deals being very extractive for artists. And so one of my friends who was building a like music magazine and an event series at the time was like, Will, you got to look into this thing called Ethereum. I think it's a way for you to achieve this goal you're looking for. And at the time, Ethereum's at $11. NFTs are just starting to go with CryptoKitties. But I just completely fell in love with it. I started to really like deep dive into crypto. I learned about Stellar Lumen and XRP and what they were doing for like P2P transactions and how they were helping get money across borders so migrant families could get, you know, resources back home. I was studying social justice at school because I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer, but I didn't have lawyer money. So I ended up going into like the entertainment route, and I just fell in love with this industry, right? Like the technology was incredible. Obviously, financial freedom and self-sovereignty were important for me and for every human on earth, I believe. So I just got really immersed into it, but I didn't see a career path, right? I was on the Sony route. I was in the music route. And then just like every artist, just like most people in music, Sony decided, they were going to, fuck me over too. So I left Sony. I go to CAA, start doing the entertainment thing in the TV and film industry in the same way. By the way, I pitched Sony on integrating NFTs and helping, radicalize crypto in 2016, and they laughed me out of the office. So shout out to Sony, though. I'm glad they caught on.
Let's go.
So marketing hack number 1 is get rejected by Sony, so you can then go to movement.
Apparently, I mean, look, I credit the guys who got Sonium started. I think the people I spoke with at the time just didn't see the vision, but clearly they got people who see it now. So I went to CAA, same story, right? I think we've all gone through this, just rejection from the institutions. CAA, ICM, the talent agencies, TV and film, they didn't really see a value add because at the end of the day, I'm pitching the middlemen. We can take middlemen out of the equation and go direct to consumer. They're like, you don't get our business model, dude. We are the middlemen. So I went into government, tried to make some social change. I was working for the Senate of California, pitching blockchain for social good. And it was around that time, COVID pandemic happened. And I just realized I got to get into this industry full time. So I started an interview series. I started interviewing crypto folks. The NFT boom took off. So a lot of the narratives that I said in 2016 really took stronghold. And that's when I, really got my feet under me, got into this industry full time, started to help artists in the NFT scene. FTX crisis happens. I doubled down. I'm like, bear is where you build. Started doing some M&A, helping project with their pitches. And then the rest is history. I met Coop at a conference. He complimented my style. I say, you're a fucking genius, and I want to help you with your marketing. And I was the first non-technical hire at Movement, and the rest is what you guys see. Movement Labs. I
love it.
Where it is today.
The takeaway there is always dress fresh at conferences.
Yeah, for real.
Right? Yeah.
Yourself.
Okay. Be noticed.
Been preaching that myself too. So let's go, guys, for Denver. Winter attire.
Oh yeah, I'm pulling the fake mink coat and everything. It's gonna be a blast.
Let's go. Okay, let's get into the marketing of it all.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, when you were, I guess, what happened first? Like you said, okay, I've joined. I'm gonna put together a campaign. How did you approach it?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, the way that I looked at it is at the time we were really aligned on movement as like a physical movement, right? Like interoperability, you can go from here to there. And I looked at it like from a brand building perspective. I'm like, well, I'm a grassroots community organizer. Let's make this thing a movement. Like, let's make it a social movement. Let's start building that narrative of community first. Because at the time we were really focused on builder centric, which we still are. I think it's like you can't do one without the other. And I really wanted to make the narrative appealable to everybody in crypto because we got a lot of devs, we got a lot of degens, we got a lot of retail, we got a lot of content creators. So I wanted to make sure that our narrative was accessible to everybody, just like this industry should be, lower the barrier of access and make movement for everybody. And so I made a 6-month content plan that incorporated all this. And Ruchi and Cooper were like, all right, this motherfucker is a lunatic, but he's kind of onto it. So that was the way that I thought about it, right? How can I make this highly technical narrative, this really robust programming language, more digestible to people who might not use it to code, but might use it to participate in crypto?
And how did you build trust with the team? Because you were a new hire, right? How did you tell them, this is what I think, and you should trust me to do this? Because I don't know how to do that perfectly yet, right? It's such a tough thing for marketers in general, especially if you're not part of the founding team, right?
Very well said. I mean, fortunately for me, I was the first non-technical hire. I think I was like the fourth. I was the first non-technical, like third hire at Movement. We were super early stage. So I was fortunate in that fact of being part of the founding team. But that idea about building trust is so important, especially for us marketers, right? Because when you're new, when you're doing these campaigns, ROI is not immediately tangible, and it's kind of going to have to be built on trust. Like if I'm saying, let's build out this whole gamified experience called Parthenon, and it's going to be hard for you to be like, all right, this is a cook. So I think really it comes down to the way that I try to do that was social capital, right? So for the first 9 months that I was at Movement, we spent no money. I told the founders, let me work off my social capital and show you that I have trust within my own network, and I can build you a following and build you an organic community without spending any money. And then that way, when I came back to them and said, okay, now it's the majors, we're about to spend a couple dollars, they had that background of like, all right, Will's here for the long term. He's not bullshitting. And I work like 20 hours a day. So I was proving it with my blood, sweat, and tears.
That helps.
Yeah.
Time and cash. Time and cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Will, have you seen the whole campaign breakdown that Jin did?
In the Figma.
I
It
haven't.
might be-
I like
I'm
to
wa-
go
Let me
spontaneous,
just
but-
scroll horizontally really fast so everyone can see all the work Jin put into this. And I'm wondering how you feel just seeing all of this laid out in a timeline.
So I'm gonna be honest. I did not open it because I like to be improvisational, and I didn't want you guys to.
No,
think
dude, we weren't expecting you to, man. It was
Alright,
this is more like a fan club, really. Like, I think that what on the timeline, what you see is always the end result, and it's easy to forget where things started, or like even just the text that people use, the visual motifs. So I try and like show the script rather than the end kind of credits kind of thing. But dude, if you want, like, which part interests you the most? Which was like the most fun for you to do, or which part stands out to you as part of your campaign?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think building the Parthenon probably was like the culmination of a lot of that trust and hard work, because it was such an insane cross-functional undertaking.
Mhm.
That I think might,
Well-
that might be one of my most proud moments in
So
any.
maybe let's start there. Emily, can you find it in the Figma? But Will, can you say a little bit about what that is, what that consists of? Because maybe a lot of people in the audience don't know what the campaigns
Is this
means.
it? Battle of Olympus?
I know. Wait,
Medical
let
Olympus
me,
is a hackathon we did that I'm also really proud of. But I gotta credit, I have a colleague, our head of BD, Ali, was really instrumental in coordinating a lot of that. So also I want to give a big shout out to teams. That none of this would be possible. Everything we're gonna talk about right now would not have been possible without the team. So I'm gonna take some credit on this show, but the team knows they were indispensable, valuable.
Shout out to the movement team.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, say a little bit about that campaign.
Let's do it. So taking a step back, right? Like we talked about a bit, this idea of including everybody is really important for me, right? Like a lot of my life, I was kind of counted out. I grew up in France, dealt with a lot of xenophobia. I've always really wanted everyone to feel like, especially with a movement, that they can be included. So if you look at this kind of concept, I was a big gamer as a kid because I used to, I wanted to have some sort of escape. I would go into play games like World of Warcraft. And I love this idea of like class.
What class, dude? Sorry.
Oh, I was a gladiator, paladin. I was a hunter.
Yeah, I knew
was
it. Paladin, dude.
hunter.
100%. I thought so.
Oh yeah, I was a sweat for sure. And we got some plans for the WoW community, by the way, Jen. I'll keep you posted.
Oh, let's go. Oh, cool.
So
Sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
No, you're good. You're good. I can talk about that all day. So this idea of like a class-based guild mentality, right? The way that I looked at it is, let's make an environment where everybody that is in this industry has a voice, has a say. It also, from our perspective, it helps us identify our power users. So if you look at like the Pathfinders, for example, it's educators, it's community builders. If there's creators, they're content creators. The Spartans are like, they're on chain. They're getting it done. They're getting after it. The Masons are builders. They're going to go out there and they're going to make these applications that people are going to use. The Explorers are going to be on social media. They're going to work on some partnerships. They're going to make sure that everything gets across. And the Scholars are going to teach, right? We need to have teachers. All of these guilds, all these functions enable people to do what they actually want to do with their time. And so they actually have a lot more fun when they're doing what we need them to do, which is testing out our test net, engaging with our content, getting the word of movement across. So I really built it off of this idea of an MMO and this gamified user experience. And that's kind of, what became building the Parthenon. So if Parthenon is, the end game, building the Parthenon was the test net. The guilds were the community activation from that. And then, it's just a marketing machine from there. And shout out to the community, all the guilds, the guild leaders, the people in the guilds, unbelievably incredible people, and many of which are getting hired at different ecosystems now. And that was the end game for me with the guilds, is the people who put the most work. You know what I mean? They put the work in and they get the work out. Like you build your stamp, right? You put your flag on the world of crypto, and people are being rewarded for their hard work, which is, a validation of my existence.
I just want to shout out how much Will is shouting out the community. Because like how much credit you give the community and people behind this, I think that is a signal to the type of marketer you are and the type of marketer you need to be in crypto, because ultimately you are community building.
100%. There's that great, I don't know if it was Aristotle saying it to Socrates. There's this great quote. Aristotle goes to Socrates, like, why are you so great, man? And he was like, if I appear great, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. And I really believe that, like, movement is only as strong as the community that we have and the builders who are building. Without them, I would just be a dude with bleach hair and hand tattoos yapping on the screen right now. You guys would be like, get this fucking lunatic out of here.
Okay. Can you tell us a little about, because when I was designing campaigns or when I design, you always have goals that you want to give to your community and participants, and you always have goals of what you want to get out of it. So can you say both of those? So we kind of hinted on the communities, you wanted them to have somewhere to participate and then potentially even get hired into space, gather a lot of experience. What was maybe something else that you had as a goal there, and what was that you wanted out of it as a team, as a project?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to the original concept, right? It's building that trust. I think just the same way I have to build my trust with my team, we as an industry need to build that trust with our users. 90% of this industry has been a grift, and it's not the fault of the users. It's the fault of the builders. Like, there's incredible builders in this industry, but because of the bad apples that are grifting, because it's a free market, because it's permissionless, the scammers are having they're having an absolute paradise environment for them to take advantage of people. Yeah. So my biggest priority is to show the community we are not that way. And I will valiantly fight against that idea that crypto is a grift. Yes, there are those people here. We have to call it out when we see it. But there's incredible folks like the individuals I'm speaking with right now. And like, my number one priority as a marketer is to make sure that that trust is established and listen to the feedback. And also credit to the founders. When the community has issues or has feedback, they listen. We had some feedback when Parthenon first came out that we rolled out way too many quests at once. And this wasn't like, we wanted to do it because we wanted to show the builders were so participatory in this process. But the community was like, this is overwhelming. There's 1,000 fucking quests. So we made it clear you don't have to do all of them. You can do the ones you want to do.
Actually, I want to back up one more second, because can you say a timeline of you joining? Roughly how much time is this campaign starting?
Great question. I started in June of 2023. I pitched Parthenon and the guild concept in June of 2023. I think Parthenon came out, what is that, week one of building Parthenon, August 10th. And that might have been August 10th, 2024. It took a long time to roll out Parthenon because it was a massive cross-functional undertaking, right? This was engineering support, BD support from all the partnerships, ecosystem, marketing, community. Everybody was involved in this process. So there was micro steps along the way. Like, we rolled out guilds in Discord first. We started allowing people to kind of participate in more of like a Discord-oriented role to trying to test the water. But yeah, it took about a year and change for us to really get this off the ground. And it was a sprint the whole time. This was difficult, but so rewarding.
I've got a question about that. So I think there's a common challenge with everyone, right? Because I'm sure you found it. Everyone does it where they see the timeline. They feel like everyone's moving so fast. Everyone's doing stuff. And we have to do things today. But then how do you balance that with, no, we have a campaign, dude. Like, it's coming. Like, it's coming. Just, we can't like immediately pivot. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that everyone and their dog is now suddenly an AI project, which is fine. But it's, how do you balance that? That's the question I have for you, because this is a long undertaking.
Yes, I think we have to increase our time horizons as an industry, because otherwise we're going to burn out our hitters. Like, marketers get this, BD gets this, the developers get this. I think the founders get this more than anyone, right? The timelines that we have for this attention economy that we're playing in are very short. People's attention spans are very short these days. So you have to be hitting them every day. There's something new coming out. But we have to be able to think long-term. I think Ethereum got a lot of shit recently when they rolled out a 6-year roadmap. I didn't think that was very fair, because they're being honest. They're like, this is going to take a long time for us to achieve. And I think crypto Twitter really just took them to the burner with that, where they were like, 6 years, are you out of your mind? Like, somebody's going to launch this tomorrow. there's validity to both sides. We have to have micro and macro goals. Like micro, I want to have content rolling out every single day. And the team is aligned with me on this. Like the bar is that we're the best and we're going to work to be that every day. But you can't have the best campaign roll out every day. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So there has to be, like I said, with relation to Parthenon, what is the micro step that we can do? Well, we can start by rolling it out on Discord and seeing if people resonate. And at the same time, we buy ourselves that time to do the development behind the scenes and just work on this in a steady cadence. And then once we get to that, like it's launching in 2 weeks phase, then all those micro steps that we took allow us to sprint to the finish line and deliver something that's quality.
I'd love to break down something you just said. It sounds like you tested the messaging with your Discord community before pushing it out on X. Is that right?
100% for a long time.
So for some of the people who are fairly new as marketers or still building up their Discord communities, what are some tips you can give on that? Because it sounds like you really seeded it with the community first before even taking it out to the masses on X.
Yeah, I also, these questions are incredible. If you all are listening and didn't realize the 3 individuals on this call are great marketers too, I hope you're learning this through their interviews. It's so valid. I mean, look, the reality is we have to work with our community. I think a big issue that I've seen is that people take their own communities for granted and they're so preoccupied with like, you know, shit posting or virtue signaling on X and trying to build more community that they don't take for there's no gratitude for the incredible community that they already have at home. And so a big part of what I work on with our amazing community team, shout out to Merck and Paco, is we really value the community we already have. From the day of the first person joining to the day of today, it's like 860 some thousand. They are our day ones. And so they're going to get the alpha first. They're going to get the guilds. They're going to get the roles. They're going to know what we're working on. And they're going to provide us that quality feedback so that when we take it to the world, not only are they prepared for it and that they can, you know, have that first mover advantage because they deserve it. There's that old idea of like the first Uber driver made the same amount as the 10,000th Uber driver. That makes zero sense. That dude should be so fucking rich, or that woman should be so goated living on a private island somewhere retired. But they don't think that way in Web 2. And we want to make sure with movement, and I hope everybody in this industry that our community is taken care of and is part of the process and feel that this movement is theirs just as much as it is ours on the team.
I'm curious.
You can tell sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious to dig in, to go back into it. How would you recommend going from 0 to 1 with building that initial set of community members?
Huge question.
Yeah. I think
wait. Both say please team wise, but also in terms of community activities, please.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will do my best. Let me know if I miss on one of them. I'm a tangential thinker. That's my polite way of saying I have ADHD. So, okay.
That's a great ADHD rebrand. I love that.
Right, not bad, right?
It's like bots to agents, ADHD to tangential.
Yeah. So
0
to 1 is, I think it's daunting for everyone. First of all, it's an incredible amount of work. So my first thing to say to people is like, prepare yourself mentally and physically to be sprinting pretty much all the time. Even if you are doing planning, you're going to be working like a madman, madwoman. So if we're taking it from the community perspective and the team perspective, again, it's that idea of trust. So build that trust. If you have, let's say like your product is, we're going to build the next, AI agent, right? Start defining the reason of why you're the team to do that. What is it about you that sets you apart? Why are you the person that people should be trusting? If it's your background, if it's your energy, if it's your enthusiasm, it's your work ethic, why should they trust you? Why are you the person to do this, right? Because it's a dime a dozen right now there's 70 trillion L2s. There's about a trillion AI agents being built. So you have to get through the noise and you need people to trust you. So number one is like building that narrative of why you and how you're going to be the one to do it. And then coming up with the content schedule and like giving yourself that organizational help so that at the same time that you're building that trust, you're consistent with your messaging and you're consistent with your delivery. I think one thing that we did really well is that we were constantly pushing the needle forward. We had partnerships rolling out constantly. We were continuously reminding people what movement is and what the move language is. So consistency, trust, how, what, the who, what, why, where, how idea of like why this team is the team to do it.
Mhm.
And then again, once the people start joining, making sure that they are heard, validated, respected, and appreciated for being a part of this mission with you, because it's not just about you, right? Like you might be the best developer on the planet, but if you have no community, you're going to go nowhere. You'll just be at home with the greatest software of all time, and you'll just be talking to your friends about how you're a genius. But if you build a community and you make them feel like they own that software just as much as you do, you're off to the races. So you got to make people feel like there's that ownership, right? There's that permissionless. There's that sense of I'm in this with you, and we ride to Valhalla together.
I like that. It's you can see the true MMO roots, because if you're trying to launch a guild in WoW or even Guild Wars, you can't just pay people for it, because they're like, I'm not here for that. So I think everyone's during the airdrop meta, we kind of indexed a lot for the wrong things, and we didn't see the background of exactly what you said there, Will, which is you got to do like what the Airbnb founder says, is like you do things that don't scale early, and then people will be like, oh, this is nice. I get someone's recognized me, because a lot of the time, you hear about people just like dismissing community as like a number, whereas I mean, most of the time it's like someone on the other end of that Discord handle or TG handle. If you make them feel special, like, and actually give them a reason to keep hanging out and make it a nice place, that's the key, right? It seems like that's exactly what you guys did. How did you balance the challenge of scale versus kind of making people feel special?
That's a tough one. And I want to take one double back real quick and just say on the team side, I think empowering the team, like if it's BD, the developers, the marketers, the community builders, whichever part of the stack is empowering them. This is something I got to credit the founders with. They allowed us to cook. So the same way you need the community to feel like there's that sense of ownership, the team needs to feel that sense of ownership. So I got to give some credit to the founders as well. Coop and Rushi did a phenomenal job. They would ask me like, what resources do you need? And I would tell them, let me fail. And where I'm failing is where I need support. But before then, let me cook and let's go from there. And they always check in. And I think that's a really valuable point. So I didn't want to miss that. And your question again was, how do you continue to scale when the community starts to steamroll, right? And make that, like, continue that community sense.
Exactly, balancing it with the personal touch with scale.
I think that's where building a strong relationship with your community really comes in clutch, is in the end game. Because as you're getting from 0 to 1, you get to that like 0.7, 0.8, where you're really starting to get to the next level. You're going to have a community, right? Like, and at that point, I call it like marketing phase 1 is building the community. Marketing phase 2 is building with the community. Once you get to that point, I literally can't interact with 860,000 people, right? Like, that's a fucking country. So you gotta have, like, if you think about it like a country, like you have states, you have cities, you have local municipalities, you have local governments, you have people. It goes back to the guild idea, and then the different types of guilds that there are. That's exactly where those guilds start coming into play. Our guild leaders and our guild members are so unbelievably, one, hardworking and incredible people. We have such a vibrancy in the community that they continue keeping that vibe alive. And we're constantly checking in with them and making sure that they feel like we're still around. Rushi and Coop do a good job of being available to people. I try to do my best. I do fall short because I'm just, I'm working way too much to even breathe right now. But I think that's really it, is that once you get to that point, the community really becomes an amoeba of its own, and they just start taking the show for themselves.
Something you talked about, Will, was having the space to fail and also having the space to cook. So this timeline that Jin made, it has so many different campaigns and activations that Movement did. Like, if you just zoom out and see the bird's eye view, you see there's so many different plans you had. It's not often that we really see L's that we take. And as marketers, we take L's more than people think because we're taking risk. I'd love to hear from you. What were some L's, or what were some things you would have done differently?
That is so these questions. I think the number one thing is time. Like time. I would love more time. And so like every time that we've done a campaign, and I'm sure so many people listening can relate to this. I don't see the successes. I see the failures. Even if it's the eyes of the industry is like, this was great. I'm looking at Parthenon, I'm seeing like, ah, man, I wish we could have just, made it even more unique and made it even more fully fleshed out, but we just didn't have time. And because we live in this attention economy, we have to push the gas pedal to the brim every time. That would be my number one criteria. I wish that I had the stop clock that Hermione has in Harry Potter so I could just run it back and just, build it out, reset, build it out, reset, and just put out the perfect thing. Because I'm a perfectionist in that way. I think that's really the constant L is that I'm losing to father time every time.
Maybe that's also a great answer. Maybe I want to talk more about the structure and your strategy. So maybe let's pick a different campaign because we're going to go back to the guilds and I want to switch concentration a little bit. Could you talk a little bit about, let's say, other than that very successful Parthenon campaign, how do you go about structuring one? So there's a task coming from the founders, from product, whoever, yourself, of like, we have to do this. And then how do you go through that? When do you involve different parts of the team to make it cross-functional? How do you structure it in your head so that you can fill it out with creative stuff, with making people feel something, with actually like how do you think of the ops and the strategy of it?
Yeah, 100%. So it's funny because I think, Jen, are you controlling like the movement on the screen? You went to G-Move Challenge. Dude, great. Cut from the same cloth. That's exactly what I was going to use as reference for this. So let's just use that as a great example because I think it satiates the question. So G-Move Challenge. Rushi comes to me and he's like, I really love this idea of G-Move. I really want to do more with this idea of G-Move because everyone's got their version of GM, but like we got something with that, right? And I was like, I totally agree. Let me cook. So I go to go back to the drawing board, and Rushi's was a professional bodybuilder. For people who don't know, the man is brolic as fuck. He's built like a tree trunk. So his natural idea was, let's do like a fitness challenge, right? And I love that. But it's still, for our community, we want to go broad. We want everyone to feel involved. And I'm like SpongeBob lifting the donuts. I'm weak as fuck. So if we do a fitness challenge, I'm going to hurt myself. So we basically built out a G-Move challenge, which was, what are you proud of? What is a G-Move to you? What do you do in your life that it might not be your job focus? It might just be like, you might be the best basketballer of all time, but people don't know that you love to sculpt, right? You might be the best developer in Web3, but you really love to chef it up at home. What is a G-Move to you? And I pulled reference from, I'm at the end of the day, I'm a grassroots organizer and I really want to make the world a better place. The ALS Challenge did a really good job of this. They wanted to create a viral campaign that would lead to awareness to a problem, fundraise, and make it fun. They had a call to action where you tag your friends. They have this fun. I don't love the water wasting aspect of that challenge. There was a lot of water being poured on the ground, but they got their point across, which was that they were trying to get awareness of this. So we really pulled reference from that and made a campaign where, just like the guilds, everybody's involved, everyone's invested. And then once that idea is conceptualized and I get sign off from the founders, then it was going to the team. So I go to my designer, incredible designer and art director in Zen. And I say, Zen, we need to make this video. I want the video to show all these different angles that people can take it. This is the call to actions. I storyboard it for her. We cook on this design side. Then I go to the BD and ecosystem team. I want to make sure that the ecosystem is involved. Can you guys please reach out to all of our builders and make sure that they feel like this is their challenge too and involve their community? We go to the partners and the folks who've invested money into the project. Guys, can you guys make sure that you're posting about this? I want to see what the VCs are doing with their time outside of building, great industry. So we go to all the different, and then community, we go to them and we say, guys, what do you want to show? What are you passionate about outside of crypto? And it can be crypto related too, but what do people care about most? And then allow them to cook. And it went spectacularly well. I really want to roll it out again. And then there's the idea of rewarding people for work. So we did like a, the top 3 videos will be, rewarded for, the originality or, for the effort that went into the video. And then there's the donation at the end of it so that there's a good cause. Everyone feels good. Some people, won. So there's this idea of a competition without it being competitive. Because I don't like the idea of winners and losers, but I do like the idea of someone winning. Yeah, that's kind of what goes into it. Is just the brainstorm phase, the strategy phase, and then just operationalizing it. And then a lot of the time, for me, I feel I put I ask a lot of my team, especially cross-functionally. So I try never to ask too much, and I'm always checking in with them. So with Gmove Challenge and some of the marketing initiatives we have with Go-to-Market, I make sure to ask them, is this too much? Do you guys have time for this? Like, how can I help? How can the marketing department help? So that I don't piss off, BD and DevRel. And thank you guys, by the way, for helping me all the time.
Thank you, BD and DevRel.
Yeah.
That's actually
Shout
my
out to
next
the
question.
Telegram kings and queens.
Crypto marketing takes a lot of cross coordination, as you're mentioning. And I don't think marketers who are not in big organizations or even ecosystems understand all of the different teams involved. You listed a few here. There's BD and partnerships, DevRel, community, VCs. All of these different domains need some type of coordination. What were your processes to, one, get buy-in, and then also make sure that the message is getting distributed?
I think it goes back to that idea of making it applicable to everybody. So like, for example, there was a time where I wanted to do the same piece of content in 3 different ways. This was like my first day at Movement. It was like highly technical, somewhat technical, completely non-technical.
Yeah.
So that like everybody that is in this like can understand the content that we're writing, and so that the audience is completely involved. Just so I understand the question, I want to make sure you're saying like, how do you get that message across to various different audiences, right?
Exactly, because we know there's a lot of coordination, but how do you actually make it happen? There's so many people involved.
Yeah. So it's like creating those different narratives for different audiences and then going to the team that works with those audiences most and having them coordinate it. So for example, when we did the TGE launch, and there's a lot of effort that went into that and a lot of cross-functional kind of sprinting that happened. I know that DevRel is going to be communicative best with the developers because unfortunately these hands can't code. The BD and ecosystem team are going to go to the partners and they have that relationship. So if I'm going to all these teams saying it means something. But if you've been working with Joe every day, shout out to Joe, incredible. He's amazing. He's our head of APAC. They go to Joe and it's like, he has that relationship where if he goes to them and he says, guys, we need you to help us cook with this. There's that implicit trust. And Joe's been helping them every day for months at a time. So when Joe comes asking for a favor, it's a no-brainer. It's that social capital aspect of it, right? Because a lot of marketing, there is a lot of social capital. You can pay $1 trillion. But if there's no love for you and you go to someone, you pay them to say a message, it hits different than if you go to them and there's that love and there's some money behind it with like an agency, for example. You treat people right, they treat you right back. So that's the way that I look at it, is like make the audience, make it palatable for everyone, and then go to the subject matter experts and ask for them to convey that message themselves so that it resonates more deeply, and continuously keep forging that trust so that, it's not an extractive relationship. It's not just transactional.
Definitely. We've all got those DMs, right, on Telegram or Twitter or whatever. It's like, hey, here's a thing. Can you do the thing? And it's like, first of all, hello. I don't know who you are. And secondly, I know that you've copy pasted this to 20 people. Sometimes you even get like insert name here. And like, anyway, but I think the key thing there is like relationship, right? And also just be nice and be helpful. And like, it usually comes around.
Don't copy paste something that says insert name. Come on, guys. We got it.
Yeah. Exactly. If you're going to do that, do it right. But the thing that I think that we don't really talk about enough is tickenomics, right? The Move name and movement as a ticker is so aligned with everything you do. Because like a lot of projects are named certain things and they're extremely techy or something. And then I don't think you couldn't do the G move challenge or or say G move or say, every time we say the word move, it has like a mimetic resonance. Where I guess it makes the job a lot easier to some extent, but also it takes a lot of guts to do something that kind of foundational as well. How much did the name affect the direction of the marketing campaign?
So from where I sit, my whole career, from music to government to entertainment to crypto, the one thing that I've always kind of kept in the back of my mind is like, I love to build brands, individuals, community, like a message, like a movement. I really believe in strong brand. And it's not something I really truly knew. It's like an internalized, it's like an inner voice that I didn't know about, but recently has become quite apparent to me. But when I met Cooper and he kind of talked to me about the movement, I always wanted to work on this side of the industry. I always wanted to build something great. I don't think I ever was a technologist, but I always wanted to be a part of something bigger than me, both from a spiritual and like a career oriented way. And when he told me that he was building a company called Movement Labs, I knew I needed to be a part of it because that's a brand I can get behind. That's like from the technology side, from the spiritual side, from the world empowerment side, from the like just lifestyle brand craft name side. A movement is something I can work with. And then there was the added bonus of the fucking programming language being called Move. I mean, it was like, there's too much here. Like that was my mentality. So when it's also for people interviewing, make yourself undeniable to hire. So when Rushi and Cooper were looking for this first non-technical hire, they were looking for a marketer. I told them I will take a quarter of what anyone else takes for this job, and I will outwork anybody else that asks for it to prove that I'm the guy. I'll build my chair at the table. I think that's a really big part for people looking for jobs. Be undeniably great, and they can't deny you. And not to be, I don't say this with hubris or ego and to say that I'm great. I'm just a guy, but I really fucking care. And I really want this to work. And I will put every single part of my being into this so that at the end of the day, whether it fails or whether or not it's incredibly successful, I'll know I did everything in my power to make it work. And that's why Move, it was perfect. It's the Move programming language. It's a movement. It's half of our labs' name. Like it's just, it's a movement, man. And it's a move.
It's alignment. And it's so easy to say. It's so easy to say. And I think it's like, different, like you said, brands and lifestyles. There's different because I mean, if you're named, I mean, I don't want to give anyone any strays right here, but like if you're named like, interoperability into something layer, and it's like, hey community, let's get excited about the It's like, well, I don't know, because I think as we've all seen in the past like 5-10 years, even the direction has gone more towards consumer lifestyle and everything at once. And like, so the new white paper is the X account, and the new the investor deck is kind of it's more important for a public founder now. It's interesting. But Emily, you had a good question about kind of the regional aspects of movement.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to shout out the community here. This question isn't from me, but it is from someone in the crypto marketing cabal.
I say that before we started?
Or I think maybe Reka had this question. Okay, multiple people have this question. Will, both Reka as well as the community. Yes. So shout out Reka as well.
So shout out community
and community.
Reka is the community. It's a movement.
Okay. This person wrote, I heard anecdotally that Move has done really well in Korea. Not sure if it will be addressed in the stream, but I would love to learn more about the regional strategy here. And it sounds like you do have, was it Jim or somebody? Joe. Shout out Joe. For APAC. I'd love to hear more about how important APAC is and how you executed the regional strategies.
Okay, awesome. So doubling down on this idea of community building, right? We are going to be and are striving to be a global movement. And if you look at like the same way, like a country has local, regional, all these like government bodies, a global movement has to have regional hubs. It needs to be involved with the people across the globe. And in our industry specifically, it's really important that you find footing in all these different countries, all these different cities. And Korea is incredible. I love Korea. I love Seoul. I've been able to go because of KBW. Also, shout out to crypto in general for allowing us to travel the fucking world.
Shout out to crypto.
God damn. I never thought I would end up in Seoul, Korea. And now I have Korean on my wrist, Korean on my neck. I got it all. I'm going to have Korean all over my body. Every time I go to Seoul, I get more Korean words tattooed on me. And I don't tell people what they mean. They're just for me. But I got the word for forehead tattooed on my forehead in Korea. And you can't see it in my hair, but I do love it there. And it's not just because of my affinity for the language. I think it really does come down to the fact that like and I'd love to scale more. I'm actually looking for a Korea regional hire right now. So if you're listening to this and you're in Korea and you are a cracked marketer, please reach out to me. But yeah, it really comes down to that idea of like, we deeply care about all different regions and we have these amazing regional explorers. So part of the Explorer Guild is this. I'm sorry, I'm so tangential. We do a lot of events. I have an events background. Music to do events. I think they're really impactful. I don't think they have the highest ROI if not done correctly. But the way that I think they do have an incredibly high ROI is if you allow the community to permissionlessly do it for themselves, and then you support them. So one of the ways that we did this was I was talking with Cooper and our community team, and I'm not based in Korea. But we have amazing community members in Korea. Shout out Bookie Road, for example, who are passionate about spreading the word of movement. So we put out this idea of, do you want to do events in local communities? We will support you. We'll give you some resources. We'll help you through the event. If you need help on how to build it, we'll give you some money. We'll help you with venue sourcing, whatever resources you need. But it's your event. You just, come to us with what you need, throw it how you want. And we have done so many incredible events. I want to kind of give you guys an idea of all of the different ones that we've done. And so for example, right, this is for all the community builders out there. I really recommend that you do this. And in terms of like invoicing wise, so that you don't get scammed, because obviously people will try to take advantage of stuff like this, just have them send receipts or invoice directly to the venue. If you're worried about like, because when you give people a Google sheet to submit for stuff like this, you're going to get a lot of input. We've had events in Nigeria, Vietnam, Germany, Colombia, Russia, Vietnam, China, Nigeria. Oh, my screen just broke. Hanoi, China, the USA, Thailand. We've had a ton in Nigeria, Brazil, Taipei, Korea, Belarus, Ukraine, Ankara, Slovakia, Kala, Bulgaria. The list goes on. And that's because I haven't gone to all those places. I would die if I went to all those places. It's too much travel. And the founders would never approve that travel budget. But the community rallied and did it themselves and spread the word. And so when people ask, why are we doing so well in Korea? We have an amazing community that's in Korea spreading the word about the movement and phenomenal agencies. Shout out to CoinS. Shout out to D-Spread. Shout out to Block Media. Shout out to, I'm going to forget someone and I'm going to feel so bad.
It's like an acceptance speech at an award show.
I love it.
I mean, I gotta shout them out, right? Because they've done.
Gotta
so
give the credit. No.
Who am I forgetting right now, guys? Basically, if I forgot you, I love you. Oh, shout out to Jin from 071 Labs for having me at his event. Let me speak when I came to Korea. Shout out to FatBlock for having us at the KBW main event. I think that's it. I'm sure I forgot someone, and the community, obviously.
I'm loving this. I don't think I've heard so much shout outs in one stream ever.
Yeah.
I think,
Hell
yeah, this is
he he walks the walk, man. I respect it. He walks the walk because you gotta, you're saying it's all about the community, but you're literally shouting out the community, man. I like it. It's great. And the movement side of things, it's like you've turned what an industry where it's essentially graphics cards with stories into a MMO religion that means something to people, and it's incredible because I don't think it's been done before at this scale before. So kudos to you, man. It's very cool. And I think the gamers will take over the world eventually because the world goes digital and the native gamers will understand the systems in place. I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Dude, you're so on the money. tried to pitch this op-ed, but I didn't just try to pitch it because I wanted to get us attention, although, I have an ulterior motive. I want to spread the word of movement, but I really believe what you just said is the truth, right? Gamified UX and a gamified rewarding user experience, whether it's the testing beta phase or whether it's like a full-on mainnet, the whole world could benefit from this. All product developers outside of crypto, within crypto, like what we do in this industry will redefine how companies interact with their communities, because other industries call them consumers. They extract, they value from them. They see them as just like a dollar bill on a page. There's no emotional connection with the people that are putting money into their products. And I think Web3 and the people who do this right, and I'm talking to 3 of them right now, they value those people. They don't just look at them as like, we need to get the money from them. They're like, that's family. And I think, if we move in that mentality of like a global family unit, and we, do away with things like borders, we move in a permissionless way, and we lead with love, and we add value first, like the sky is the limit. The universe is, like we're going to build a better world. And that's what I'd like to see. And I think Web3 is the place to do it.
The crazy thing too is the universe is expanding every second.
Exactly.
So there is like boundless limits.
There is no limit. There is no limit. I love that.
We went from gaming to interstellar. I mean, this is the Venn diagram is pretty perfect. I think a good point on that is like people talk about gamification all the time in Discords and stuff, right? But what I think you guys have done really well is you remember that games are supposed to be fun. Because when people say gamification, it's like, oh yeah, press buttons, you get a thing, and we'll give you a thing if you do the thing, and that's technically work. Whereas making something fun is like the hard thing, and I think you guys have nailed it with what you've done with movement. Because people seem to like, I haven't seen this many comments on the stream for a long time, just hyping you up. So kudos to you guys, man. Like it's very cool, very cool.
Yeah, I'd love to move a little bit into the future, and you did touch on it a little bit. So movement is now post TGE. There's a token. I'd love to hear how you think about the future of marketing plans post TGE, and if you have anything that you're cooking.
For sure. I think the most pressing for me is getting our industry the recognition that we deserve. So like micro macro goals, right? I want us to be globally recognized for the good that we're doing for the world, not for the grifting. And I think that will be my like macro goal. The micro goal is, how do we continue to press the narrative that movement is here to stay? We build for solutions. Our orientation is to solution building and not to consistency. We love to pivot, but because we're trying to build solutions to problems that people have. And I think that's like the most pressing thing for us now that we're kind of like, off to the races, getting our mainnet out live, have builders start being able to deploy just like they did in our testnet environment, have it be on our public mainnet environment from a developer perspective. Going back to that, making sure that all the points are hit, our ecosystem, making sure that they're provided with the resources so that they have a successful future, and so that like people are using their applications. We have a consumer application future ahead of us. So I want to make sure that they're, getting resources and tools to do things that they want to do. And yeah, just hammering home that Web3 is the greatest place to be, and movement is the place to build, and move is the language to build with.
Damn. What is one, actually, maybe the final question is, along this macro and more nearer term vision,
Yep.
What is a campaign that you're thinking about that you can share some things? Because that's a very, that's a big roadmap that you just laid it out to ourselves, essentially like leading our industry into being mainstreamly accepted and recognized. Huge. Shout out ambition. And then what is something that you already think about that you see as a bridge towards that vision, as a campaign, for example?
American-made crypto, probably. I think so far our country, I'm in America, I live in the US. I think the country has been quite averse to crypto innovation happening at home. And I think we've seen, a flight of some of our most talented builders and teams go to other countries. And look, I'm a believer in borderless world, so I'm cool with that, right? But if the U.S. wants to bring those tax dollars home, if we want to bring those jobs home, and if we want to continue to develop in this country, then we need to have American-made crypto companies thrive. And so that's a micro goal that we're going to work on at Movement, is making sure that we're part of the conversation to bring crypto adoption to the U.S., and to work with U.S. regulators and to work with the government to make sure that this country doesn't fall behind. And also so that the American people don't get left behind. So that's, I think, a macro goal towards that global goal. Because, the U.S. has got to be part of this conversation. And if they're not, they're going to make it harder for every country too, because they got some power and clout in the global scheme of things. So we got to get them aligned.
Okay.
And this is the only conversation I've ever been in where we talk about Discord and changing the government in the same 20 minutes. This is what the future is going to be like, right? It's going to be nested communities all the way down from government to the micro level, and crypto connects all of it. So I see it. I like it. It's probably the only one of 2 or 3 teams that are doing this, thinking about because everyone talks about institutions, but above that is government policy. So this is the next step, policy change and government change. I think we're getting to time. I think this is this has been amazing, dude. I think we'll probably call it there, talking about literally changing. Movement is a movement within the US government. I think that's a great place to end on.
I'm so sad. I want the show to go on forever. You're all the best. It's been so fun.
We can do part 2 when you take over to.
I think the people will definitely want a part 2, and we'll definitely be following closely. So just to finish, I want to thank Emily, Reka, and Will. Just thank you so much for doing this. It's been really cool. I think it's been super useful for everyone involved. First off, follow Movement, follow Will. Also follow Nuffle Labs so I don't get fired for doing this on company time. But the other thing is, if you want to mint the NFT, it's all free. Go on guild.xyz AMOS. It'll have this Figma. It'll have the stream recording and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, it's been awesome. I hope everyone's enjoyed it as much as we have. Thanks for joining. Thanks everyone.
Shout out Will.
Yeah. Thank you, Will, for taking the time, bringing the positivity and some of your plans and ideas and strategies we learned today. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And make sure to follow all their teams. Make sure to follow their accounts. Make sure to follow their team accounts. Get to show them some love. To the G movers, let's show them some love. And thank you all so much. And to the humans that are listening to this, you're uniquely great and incredible. You can do whatever you set your mind to. You literally can achieve greatness. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I love you. Let's get it.
Let's go, dude. I feel just listening to you. I'm not even American, man, and I just feel like I want to play the national anthem or some shit.
Let's go vote.
I need Will to make a positive affirmation app. Launch it on.
I would listen to Will doing a meditation track, before I go to work or anything. I just listen to that. I'd be like, I can do it. I can do it.
You guys just ping me anytime you need that. If you're like, Will, I'm having a tough day, I need some positivity, I'll send you a voice note or I'll call and I'll just flood you with positivity.
Same. This offer stands for me too.
Same for me. We actually have a compliments thread. So maybe we can, next time we'll do a compliments thread where anybody wants a compliment. We'll include Will as well, because he's amazing with compliments, as you can see.
In there. I'm with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.